being upside down can be really scary. But there's so many benefits to being upside down. And today I'm going to talk about some of these benefits of being upside down. I'm going to speak about 5 benefits. Yoga is quite unique in that we have a number of poses that invert us. And I'm going to speak about 5 precautions. And in case we haven't met before, my name is Yoga Sensei Tawani Clark. The king of poses, the poses that are supposed to give the biggest benefits, are actually the inversions. We have headstand, which is the king of poses, and we have shoulder stand, that is the queen of poses. The benefits that all inversions give, and then we also have semi-inversions. So downward facing dog is actually an inversion. Not many people know that. You get a lot of the benefits, not as many as when you invert fully, but definitely some of the benefits you get. The first benefit is it's great for the brain. Just think of our brain being up here and our heart being down here. So basically, this is one essential organ that gets blood flow against the flow of gravity. And the carotid arteries that go up and nourish the brain are pretty much the only arteries in the body that have non-return valves. Lack of nourishment to the brain is thought to be one of the main reasons for dementia. So when we go upside down, our heart is above our brain. It's one of those few times when the heart is above the brain, which means that there's a lot of flow, easy flow of blood to the brain to nourish the brain, to bring all sorts of nutrients, of oxygen and everything that it needs. So you might get a little bit more intelligent after doing a headstand, or get all these amazing ideas after doing an inversion. The second benefit, I think we're all gonna love this one, is anti-aging. And you're like, huh? How? Really? You gotta be kidding me. No, it's true. Think about, there's various reasons. I think one obvious reason is gravity. Gravity weighs everything down. You feel everything tends to sag over time with gravity. Now, when you turn yourself upside down, gravity is doing the opposite. It's bringing everything back into place. Also, another anti-aging aspect of the inversions is that they work the hormonal glands, the endocrine glands, which are responsible for keeping us young and rejuvenated. For instance, in shoulder stand, we compress the throat and the thyroid, which is responsible for our metabolism. And as we get older, our metabolism tends to slow down and we put on weight easily, even if we're eating the same amount of food that we ate when we were younger. But when we do shoulder stand, this is compressed and activated, and our metabolic rate comes up to a younger level. Of course, there are other ones, but we don't really have time for that today. The third are the circulatory system benefits. Again, think of our legs. Our legs, the heart is pumping energy to the legs and to every other part of the body. So the blood is getting there. But how does the blood come back? It's really dependent on our movements. And you notice that if you stand for very long periods of time, particularly if you have underlying conditions or pregnant, the ankles tend to swell as fluid tends to collect in those lower areas. But then we do headstand or an inversion, and the legs, especially if we do a full one, the legs are up here and the heart is down here, and what we have is the blood being able to return back to the heart, and the lymph also being able to turn back to the center, to the distribution point over here. And our blood, of course, is bringing back any toxins, bringing back things that we don't need so that they can be cleared by other organs in the body so that fresh blood can come in. And it's difficult for more fresh blood to come in, right, if the area is already congested with stale blood. And for our lymph is even more unique because the lymph, unlike the heart, which has the circulatory system of the blood, which has a pump of the heart, at least to create some pressure and take the blood there, and maybe some residual pressure could help bring it back. Lymph doesn't have a pump at all, and the movement of our lymph is really dependent on our body. So when I lift my hand like this, I am allowing the lymph to drain. And when we lift our legs, or when our butt is higher in a semi-inversion, then the lymph can move back to the heart area. There's also a cystine there, and it gets rejuvenated and cleansed in the process. And remember that our lymph nodes are really highly connected to our immune system, which is so crucial now during these COVID times. Now, those are the physical benefits. I want to talk a little bit more about the mind benefits of inversions, especially when you do the forwards. When I'm teaching yoga, when I'm teaching inversions like I am doing this week in class, people get terrified. People are so scared. But I tell you something, when they do the headstand, they're like over the moon. They're like, yay, I did it. So it helps us confront our fears and helps us build our confidence, which is amazing. And when we start to do these kind of things, facing our fears and building confidence in yoga on the mat, we realize that we can do this in the rest of our life as well. The other very interesting thing about upside down, as children sometimes do that, they like to look at you upside down and do crazy things. Try it. The world looks different. It's just perspective. It's like, oh, sometimes it looks like people walk by you when you're upside down, and it looks like they're walking on the ceiling. And sometimes you just want to laugh, and sometimes you just see something from a new perspective, particularly now that you have all the blood and all the nutrients in the brain as well. So that combination is great for getting new perspective and getting new ideas. I do want to talk about 5 reasons or times when we need to take precautions on when we perhaps shouldn't do an inversion or shouldn't do a full inversion. So it's a really, really powerful class of poses, but like with everything with power, we have to take it with respect and work with responsibility with it. So the first reason is if we have high blood pressure, and this is like very high blood pressure, so maybe over 150 or over 160, over 100, definitely not a good time to do an inversion, because already we know with high blood pressure that when there's too much pressure in the brain, it is likely to it could possibly lead to too much blood, too much pressure. It will increase the pressure, which could lead to a stroke or some other problem. So definitely, if the blood pressure is uncontrolled, if you have high blood pressure but you're on medication and it's controlled, I've worked with a lot of people in that category, it's generally fine. The second reason is if pregnant, particularly if you haven't done yoga before, because the baby is trying to, if you're upside down, then the uterus will be above the heart, and it's thought not to be a good idea, particularly during the later pregnancy. Up to 3 months, it's actually fine. Another reason may be spinal injuries, but this will depend very much on which type of inversion one is doing. But neck injuries for the shoulder stand is not a good idea. And sometimes the impact coming out of handstand, for instance, if people are not yet controlled in the way they do it. It's good you can still do it, but you really would need an experienced teacher to help you through that. The fourth reason is vertigo. It's a condition where we lose balance when we put our head down and we bring our head up. The world still seems to be spinning. that can be an issue. But then again, if you're with an experienced teacher, they may be able to guide you on how to slowly get into the pose and out of the pose. And if your vertigo is not serious, it may still be all right. The fifth reason, surprisingly, is to do with our eyes. It's an eye condition called glaucoma, where there's high pressure of the fluid in the eyes. And when we come upside down, there'll be even more pressure in the eyes, so it's not great to do inversions if you have glaucoma. So there you have it, the 5 benefits of doing inversions and the 5 precautions of times when it's not a great idea to do it. Join us online in the online studio, Kuthuta Yoga Online Studio. All you have to do is go to this URL. I'll put it here in the bottom so that you can see it. And I look forward to seeing you there. Yoga Sensei signing out. Namaste.